In the vast expanse of the Andromeda Quadrant, where star systems danced in synchronized orbits and ancient civilizations thrived among constellations, a peculiar development rippled through the galactic community. The Council of Stellar Sovereigns, an assembly of the most powerful beings from across the cosmos, gathered in their crystalline chamber aboard the orbital station Ecliptica Prime. Their holographic forms flickered like living constellations as they convened to address what many considered the most preposterous situation in recent galactic history. The council chamber itself was a marvel of cosmic engineering, its walls pulsating with the combined energy signatures of over 300 advanced species. At its center floated the Grand Nexus, a swirling sphere of pure quantum energy that served as both communication hub and decision-making core. Around the celestial heart, representatives manifested in their preferred forms, some as shimmering avatars of light, others as complex geometric shapes, and still others maintaining their original biological appearances, enhanced by subtle bioluminescent patterns. Among these august beings sat Lord Zareen of the Vyarwainen dynasty, his form shifting between translucent waves of purple and silver, a manifestation of his emotional state. Beside him hovered the collective consciousness of the Quorix hive, represented by a constantly morphing fractal pattern that pulsed with mathematical precision. Opposite them materialized the ethereal presence of Lady Sylvaris, her form appearing as a cascade of liquid crystal that refracted the chamber's ambient light into rainbows that danced across the walls. The matter at hand concerned the royal lineage of the Xylari Empire, one of the oldest and most prestigious dominions in known space. For centuries, the Xylari had maintained their position through careful genetic engineering and strategic alliances, ensuring that their bloodline remained pure and their power unchallenged. However, recent events had thrown their carefully constructed social order into chaos. Princess Lyria, the youngest daughter of Emperor Zithron XIII, had been deemed genetically imperfect due to a rare mutation that manifested during her adolescent metamorphosis, a condition that rendered her unsuitable for traditional royal duties according to Xylari standards. This pronouncement had sent shockwaves through the galactic aristocracy. The rejection of a royal heir was unprecedented in Xylari history, and the council found themselves unusually divided on how to handle the situation. Some members argued that the princess should be quietly retired to a life of scholarly pursuits, while others saw an opportunity to challenge the rigid Xylari caste system that had long been criticized by more progressive civilizations. Complicating matters further was the emergence of an unexpected variable, a human male from Earth's burgeoning interstellar community. Lieutenant Marcus Drake, a relatively unknown officer in United Earth Space Command, had somehow become entangled with a disgraced princess during a routine diplomatic mission gone spectacularly awry. Their encounter, initially dismissed as a minor incident, had evolved into something far more significant when genetic compatibility tests revealed an unprecedented match between the two species. The Council's reaction ranged from bemused curiosity to outright derision. Many members struggled to comprehend how a primitive species, only recently admitted to the galactic community, could produce an individual capable of bonding with Xylari royalty. The humans' rapid technological advancement and aggressive expansion into neighboring sectors had already made them controversial figures in interstellar politics. This latest development threatened to upend centuries of established galactic protocol. As the Council deliberated, holographic displays around the chamber projected historical data about humanity's rise from a single-planet species to a significant galactic power in mere decades. Statistical models showed erratic but impressive growth patterns, cultural adaptability that defied conventional wisdom, and an uncanny ability to integrate foreign technologies. Yet despite these achievements, many council members remained skeptical of humanity's place among the elder races. Lord Zareen's waveforms shifted to a deeper crimson as he addressed the assembly. We face a dilemma that challenges everything we understand about genetic compatibility and royal succession. The idea that a human, a member of a species whose ancestors were still using combustion engines less than 3 centuries ago, could inherit Xylari nobility is troubling. Lady Sylvaris's crystalline form sparkled with irritation. Troubling. It's absurd. Humans are barely out of their solar cradle, yet they presume to reach for stars that have shone for millennia without them. Her words echoed through the chamber, finding agreement among several traditionalist factions. The Quorix hive's representative pulsed in complex patterns that translated to a series of logical arguments. From a purely mathematical perspective, the statistical probability of such a genetic match occurring naturally is approximately 1 in 9.3 trillion. This suggests either an unprecedented evolutionary coincidence or the possibility of previously unknown genetic engineering. As the debate continued, Archival footage played across the chamber's walls, showing key moments in humanity's first contacts with various species. The images highlighted both their remarkable adaptability and their tendency toward unconventional solutions. A particularly telling sequence showed human diplomats resolving a trade dispute between the Kelnari and the RHYLL using a combination of improvised technology and impromptu cultural exchange programs. Emperor Zitharon XIII himself appeared via secure transmission, his regal form radiating authority even through the holographic medium. His voice carried the weight of centuries of tradition as he addressed the council. While I acknowledge the unprecedented nature of this situation, we must consider the implications for our empire's future. My daughter's condition, while unfortunate, does not diminish her worth as a member of the royal family. If the genetic compatibility with the human is genuine, it presents possibilities. The emperor's words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken consequences. Throughout the chamber, representatives began privately calculating the potential ramifications of accepting a human into Xylari royalty. Such a union would create unprecedented political and economic connections between two vastly different civilizations. It could signal a new era of cooperation, or ignite conflicts that had been simmering beneath the surface of galactic diplomacy for decades. As the council session extended into its third hour, the initial shock and disbelief began transforming into more nuanced considerations. Some members recognized the potential benefits of integrating humanity's innovative approaches with Xylari stability. Others viewed it as a threat to the established galactic hierarchy. Regardless of their positions, all agreed that the outcome of this situation would shape interstellar relations for generations to come. On the distant moon of Cerebrix 4, where the Xylari royal family maintained their primary scientific research facilities, Princess Lyria stood before a massive observation window overlooking the facility's central laboratory. Her slender form, normally composed of iridescent scales that shifted colors with her emotions, now displayed a constant dull gray, a visible manifestation of her genetic condition. The mutation had disrupted her natural chromatic response, leaving her unable to display the vibrant spectrum that defined her species' emotional expression. Her isolation suite, though luxurious by any standard, felt more like a gilded cage with each passing day. The transparent alloy walls allowed her to observe the researchers working below, their movements precise and calculated as they conducted experiments on countless other subjects. She watched them move between stations, their perfect forms glowing with health and vitality, while she remained confined to her quarters, marked as defective by the very society she was born to lead. The memory of her transformation ceremony still haunted her, the moment when her adolescent metamorphosis had revealed the imperfection that would define her future. Instead of emerging from her cocoon with enhanced abilities and the characteristic radiant aura of royal blood, she had collapsed into a heap of malformed tissue that took weeks to stabilize. The medical team's whispered conversations, though meant to be private, had reached her ears: genetic instability, unacceptable variants, not fit for royal succession. Each phrase had cut deeper than any physical wound. Her sister, Princess Nixera, had visited only once since the diagnosis. The encounter had been brief and awkward, with Nixera maintaining a safe distance as if afraid the condition might be contagious. "Perhaps this will allow you to pursue other interests," she had offered lamely, her perfect violet scales shimmering with condescension. "Not everyone needs to follow the traditional path, after all." The words, meant to comfort, had instead confirmed what Lyria already knew. She was no longer considered worthy of her family's legacy. The isolation had given Lyria ample time to reflect on her position within Xylari society. As a child, she had been taught that their strict genetic classifications existed to maintain the purity and strength of their civilization. Now, trapped within the very system she had once revered, she began to question its fundamental assumptions. Why should arbitrary genetic markers determine an individual's worth? What did it truly mean to be perfect, according to Xylari standards? Her thoughts often turned to the ancient texts she had studied during her education, the forbidden histories that spoke of times before the Great Genetic Reformation, when diversity was celebrated rather than controlled. Those who possessed unique characteristics were once considered blessed by the stars themselves, their differences seen as sources of strength rather than weakness. The shift toward genetic uniformity had brought stability, yes, but at what cost? Through the observation window, Lyria watched as a group of researchers activated a new experimental subject, a young Xylari whose scales glowed with the brilliant intensity of unmodified perfection. The contrast between that creature's vibrancy and her own muted appearance brought a familiar ache to her chest. Yet alongside that pain grew something else: determination. Perhaps her condition, rather than a curse, could be an opportunity to challenge the very foundations of her society. The arrival of Lieutenant Marcus Drake had initially seemed like just another indignity, a human, of all beings, assigned to assist with her case as part of some diplomatic gesture. The first time she saw him through the security monitors, his awkward movements and obvious discomfort in formal Xylari surroundings had almost made her laugh. But something about his presence intrigued her. Unlike the perfect specimens of her own species, whose every action followed precise protocols, Marcus moved with an unpredictable energy that reminded her of the ancient texts she loved so much. Their initial meeting had been brief but memorable. Marcus had entered her suite carrying a data tablet filled with meaningless pleasantries and diplomatic talking points. Instead of reciting the prepared speech, he had simply looked at her with those strange, expressive human eyes and said, "I've read your file, Your Highness. None of it matters unless you tell me what you want." That simple statement, so unlike anything she had ever heard from her own people, had caught her completely off guard. As their interactions continued, Marcus's ignorance of Xylari customs proved oddly refreshing. He didn't know enough to treat her with a careful distance that others maintained, nor did he seem particularly impressed by her royal status. When she expressed frustration with her confinement, he responded with practical suggestions rather than polite platitudes. "If these walls bother you, why not look beyond them?" he had asked, pointing to the stars visible through her window. "There's a whole universe out there waiting to be explored." Their conversations gradually shifted from formal exchanges to genuine discussions about their respective cultures. Marcus shared stories of Earth's chaotic history, its wars and revolutions, its struggles for equality and understanding. Lyria found herself drawn to these tales of imperfection and resilience, seeing echoes of her own situation in humanity's journey from tribal conflict to space exploration. In turn, she began sharing insights about Xylari society that went beyond the official narratives, nuances and contradictions that no one else had ever acknowledged to her. The discovery of their genetic compatibility had shocked them both. For Marcus, it represented an opportunity to bridge the gap between their species in ways neither had anticipated. For Lyria, it offered a chance to redefine what it meant to be Xylari royalty, not through the perfection of one's genes, but through the strength of one's character and choices. As they continued to meet, their relationship evolved from professional necessity to something far more profound, though neither dared to name it aloud. Yet amidst these developments, Lyria couldn't ignore the growing tension surrounding their situation. She could feel the weight of expectations pressing down on them from all sides, the Xylari nobility watching with disapproval, the Galactic community observing with fascination, and somewhere in the background, the Council of Stellar Sovereigns debating their fate. Every decision they made, every moment they spent together, carried implications that reached far beyond their personal connection. Standing at her observation window, Lyria watched as Marcus navigated the laboratory below, his human form moving with increasing confidence among the Xylari researchers. Despite everything, the controversy, the uncertainty, the potential danger, she found herself smiling for the first time in months. Perhaps being imperfect wasn't the end of her story after all. Maybe it was just the beginning of something entirely new. Most importantly, he learned to balance his loyalty to Earth with his growing understanding of Xylari perspectives, creating a unique position from which to influence both sides. The facility's staff noticed the change in him. Where once they had treated him with polite detachment, many now sought his opinion on matters ranging from diplomatic protocol to cultural misunderstandings. His quarters became an unofficial meeting place where Xylari researchers and human specialists could discuss sensitive topics without fear of judgment. Through these informal gatherings, Marcus gained insights into both species' strengths and weaknesses, helping to forge connections that official channels had failed to establish. Yet with each small victory came new challenges. Rumors circulated about secret negotiations between Earth and the Xylari Empire, speculation about potential marriage alliances, and conspiracy theories suggesting hidden agendas behind the genetic compatibility. Marcus found himself at the center of these swirling currents, forced to maintain his composure while navigating increasingly treacherous waters. The weight of expectation pressed upon him from all sides, the UESC demanding loyalty, the Xylari seeking advantage, and somewhere in his heart, his own desires struggling to find voice. As he reviewed the latest batch of communiques from Earth, Marcus realized that his situation had evolved beyond anything covered in his diplomatic training. He was no longer just a representative of humanity. He had become a bridge between species, a test case for interspecies relations, and perhaps most significantly, an individual facing choices that would affect countless lives across multiple worlds. The decisions he made in the coming days would echo through galactic history, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that the most important choice would be the one he made within himself. In the heart of the Andromeda Quadrant, where ancient stars burned with the wisdom of countless civilizations, the Council of Stellar Sovereigns convened for what many considered the most consequential session in recent galactic history. The crystalline chamber of Ecliptica Prime buzzed with an unprecedented level of tension, its quantum-powered nexus displaying real-time updates from across the affected territories. Holographic projections of news feeds, public reactions, and expert analyses swirled around the chamber like a digital maelstrom, reflecting the chaos rippling through the galactic community. The revelation of Lieutenant Marcus Drake's genetic compatibility with Princess Lyria had ignited a firestorm of controversy that refused to be contained within diplomatic circles. On the merchant worlds of the Orion Spur, traders debated whether this unprecedented match would open new markets or disrupt established trade routes. In the academic centers of the Cygnus Rift, scholars pored over ancient texts searching for historical precedents, while geneticists scrambled to understand the biological implications of such a cross-species compatibility. Across the vast network of communication channels, public opinion fractured along increasingly polarized lines. Traditionalist factions, particularly among the elder species, viewed the situation with undisguised alarm. The Arcturon Collective, representing several ancient civilizations, issued a formal protest arguing that allowing a human to enter xylary royalty would undermine centuries of carefully maintained genetic hierarchies. Their representative, Ambassador Krythos, manifested in the council chamber as a column of shimmering plasma, his form pulsing with agitation. "We stand at a precipice," he declared, his voice resonating with the weight of countless generations. To permit this union would be to discard millennia of genetic wisdom in favor of sentimental idealism. Progressive elements, however, saw opportunity in the chaos. The Democratic Systems Alliance, comprising younger species and reform-minded elders, argued that this unprecedented genetic match represented evolution's next step. Their spokesperson, Counselor Mira Solis of the Centauri Concord, projected as a radiant spiral of light, countered Krythos's argument with equal passion. Throughout history, every great advancement has faced resistance from those clinging to outdated paradigms. The compatibility between these two beings challenges us to reconsider what we believe about species boundaries and genetic destiny. The media coverage reached fever pitch, with galactic news networks dedicating entire channels to round-the-clock analysis. Popular commentators emerged overnight, some championing the union as a symbol of interspecies unity, others warning of cultural contamination and genetic instability. Memes and viral content spread across social platforms at light speed, from serious debates about genetic ethics to humorous takes on human xylary cultural differences. The phrase, Drake's Dilemma, entered common parlance, used to describe any situation where personal relationships intersected with larger societal implications. Economic repercussions began manifesting as markets reacted to the uncertainty. Investment in human xylary joint ventures surged, while traditional xylary enterprises saw their stock values fluctuate wildly. Speculation ran rampant about potential changes in trade agreements, military alliances, and technological exchanges. Insurance underwriters struggled to calculate risk factors for contracts involving either species, leading to temporary freezes in certain sectors of interstellar commerce. Within the scientific community, the situation sparked both excitement and concern. Genetic research facilities across known space redirected resources to study the phenomenon, while ethicists debated the moral implications of pursuing similar cross-species compatibilities. Some warned of unintended consequences, potential genetic instabilities or unforeseen evolutionary pressures, while others argued that such natural compatibility represented an opportunity too valuable to ignore. Diplomatic channels overflowed with communications as various species and factions maneuvered to position themselves advantageously. Trade delegations suddenly included genetic specialists. Cultural exchange programs expanded to include studies of human xylary interactions. Military attaches began discreet inquiries about potential defense arrangements. The situation created a complex web of alliances and rivalries, with many species calculating how the Union might affect their standing in galactic affairs. The religious implications added another layer of complexity. Several major faiths interpreted the genetic compatibility as a divine sign, while others saw it as a challenge to their teachings about species purity and divine design. Pilgrimages to sacred sites increased as believers sought guidance on how to interpret these events, while theological debates raged across interfaith councils and spiritual networks. At the grassroots level, public demonstrations erupted on multiple worlds. On Earth, supporters rallied in major cities, waving banners that read "Unity through Diversity" and "Love Knows No Species." Counter-protests organized by conservative groups argued that humanity shouldn't sacrifice its independence for interspecies romance. Similar scenes played out on xylary worlds, though with reversed roles: progressives advocating for acceptance of the union, traditionalists demanding adherence to genetic purity laws. The controversy seeped into popular culture, influencing everything from holodramas to musical compositions. Artists created works exploring themes of interspecies connection and genetic destiny, while philosophers held public forums discussing the implications for concepts of identity and belonging. Educational institutions incorporated the situation into their curricula, using it as a case study in ethics, sociology, and evolutionary biology. As the situation evolved, unexpected alliances formed. Younger members of traditionally conservative species found common cause with progressive humans, while some human traditionalists aligned with xylary purists. These cross-species partnerships created new channels of communication and understanding, though they also sparked tensions within their respective communities. Family disputes became commonplace, as individuals found themselves divided over whether to support or oppose the union. The council chamber itself became a microcosm of the wider chaos. Representatives who had maintained cordial relations for centuries found themselves taking opposing sides, their holographic forms sometimes flickering with suppressed emotion. Emergency sessions convened regularly as new developments emerged, each revelation adding another layer of complexity to an already intricate situation. Protocol officers struggled to maintain order as debates grew increasingly heated, with some members abandoning formal titles altogether in their urgency to be heard. Through this maelstrom of controversy and division, one fact remained clear: the union between Marcus Drake and Princess Lyria had become more than a personal matter or even a diplomatic issue. It had grown into a catalyst for change, forcing the entire galactic community to confront questions about identity, progress, and the future of interspecies relations. The decisions made in response to this situation would shape the course of galactic civilization for generations to come, regardless of the ultimate outcome. Against the backdrop of galactic controversy, Marcus and Lyria found themselves drawn into an increasingly complex dance of intimacy and vulnerability. Their encounters, initially constrained by protocol and circumstance, gradually evolved into something far deeper as they discovered common ground in their shared experiences of isolation. During late-night conversations in Lyria's observation suite, they exchanged stories of feeling fundamentally different from their respective societies. Marcus recounting his childhood as a military brat who never quite fit into any world, Lyria describing her gradual realization that her mutation made her an outsider within her own family. These shared vulnerabilities created a sanctuary of understanding between them, a space where they could shed their public personas and simply exist as individuals. Marcus learned to interpret the subtle shifts in Lyria's muted coloration, recognizing how certain shades corresponded to specific emotions despite her inability to display the full spectrum of xylary emotional expression. In return, Lyria developed an appreciation for the nuance in Marcus's facial expressions and body language, reading meaning in the slight furrowing of his brow or the particular set of his shoulders that no xylary could replicate. Their physical proximity became charged with significance, each touch or shared glance carrying layers of unspoken communication. When Marcus first placed his hand against the transparent wall of Lyria's suite during one of her particularly difficult days, she responded by pressing her own hand to the barrier on her side. Though separated by the alloy partition, they both felt the warmth of connection through the metal, a testament to the electromagnetic fields that seemed to resonate between them. This simple act of reaching out spawned a series of similar gestures, each one breaking down another barrier between their species. The discovery of their genetic compatibility added a new dimension to their relationship, one that transcended mere emotional connection. Scientific examinations revealed that their cellular structures interacted in ways that defied conventional biological models, with Marcus's human DNA exhibiting unprecedented adaptability to xylary genetic patterns. During these testing sessions, they found themselves laughing at the absurdity of being poked and prodded by researchers who seemed more interested in their biological anomalies than in their actual relationship. These shared moments of levity helped them maintain perspective amidst the mounting pressure from both their societies. Their conversations grew increasingly intimate, moving beyond surface-level cultural exchanges to explore deeply personal aspects of their identities. Marcus confessed his fears about losing his sense of self in the midst of so much external expectation, while Lyria revealed her guilt about feeling relief at being released from traditional royal responsibilities. They discovered that their differences, his human impulsiveness versus her xylary caution, his need for direct communication against her instinct for subtle implication, actually complemented each other, creating a dynamic where each could learn from the other's perspective. Physical contact became more frequent and meaningful as they navigated the complex territory of interspecies intimacy. When Lyria experienced episodes of genetic instability, Marcus's presence seemed to have a calming effect, his electromagnetic signature somehow stabilizing her fluctuating cellular patterns. Scientists monitoring these interactions speculated about the existence of previously unknown biological harmonics between their species, but to Marcus and Lyria, it simply felt right. Their touches carried both comfort and curiosity, each contact point sparking new understanding between their fundamentally different physiologies. Shared adversity strengthened their bond as they weathered the storms of public scrutiny and political maneuvering. When false rumors about their relationship spread through galactic media, they found solace in their mutual trust. Marcus's protective instincts emerged naturally when he sensed Lyria's distress, while Lyria's innate understanding of power dynamics helped them navigate the complex political landscape. Together, they developed strategies for managing the relentless attention, creating private spaces within the public eye where they could maintain their connection without interference. Their emotional intimacy deepened through shared artistic expression. Marcus introduced Lyria to Earth's classical music, explaining how different compositions conveyed complex emotions without words. In turn, Lyria shared xylary resonance patterns, visual symphonies of color and light that told stories through abstract patterns. They began creating hybrid art forms, combining human musical structures with xylary visual sequences to express emotions that neither culture could fully capture alone. These collaborative creations became their private language, a way of communicating that transcended both their species' traditional modes of expression. Trust developed through countless small moments of vulnerability. When Marcus experienced homesickness, Lyria listened without judgment, offering insights from her own experiences of isolation. When Lyria struggled with feelings of inadequacy, Marcus responded not with empty reassurances but with honest acknowledgement of her worth beyond genetic classifications. These exchanges built a foundation of mutual understanding that proved stronger than any external pressure. Their relationship evolved into a partnership that challenged conventional notions of interspecies interaction. Rather than attempting to erase their differences, they celebrated them, finding strength in their contrasting perspectives. Marcus's human tendency to question established norms complemented Lyria's insider knowledge of xylary society, while her understanding of diplomatic subtleties helped temper his sometimes blunt approach to problem-solving. Together, they created a new paradigm for interspecies relationships, one based not on assimilation but on authentic connection. As their bond deepened, they found themselves instinctively anticipating each other's needs and responses. Marcus learned to recognize when Lyria needed space to process her thoughts, while Lyria developed an uncanny ability to sense when Marcus was holding back his true feelings. This intuitive understanding allowed them to navigate the complex social and political landscape surrounding their relationship with remarkable grace, even as external pressures mounted and the stakes grew higher with each passing day. The crystalline chamber of the Council of Stellar Sovereigns hummed with restrained energy as representatives from across the galaxy processed the latest developments in the unprecedented situation. Lord Zarene's waveform patterns shifted erratically between deep indigo and electric blue, betraying his internal conflict despite his attempts at composure. The Quorix Hive's fractal representative pulsed with complex mathematical sequences that suggested calculations running through millions of possible outcomes. Lady Silvaris's liquid crystal form shimmered with an intensity that threatened to overwhelm the chamber's light filters. New evidence had emerged from the xylary research facilities, transmitted simultaneously to all council members through secure quantum channels. Advanced genetic mapping had revealed that the compatibility between Marcus Drake and Princess Lyria wasn't merely a random occurrence, but potentially the result of ancient genetic programming predating recorded history. The data suggested that humanity's evolutionary path might have been influenced by forgotten xylary expeditions to Earth during its prehistoric era, leaving traces of their genetic code dormant in human DNA until now. This revelation sent shockwaves through the council. Several members immediately requested emergency sessions with their respective governments, while others demanded independent verification of the findings. The implications were staggering. If true, it meant that humanity's rapid advancement and surprising compatibility with various alien species might not be entirely coincidental. The concept challenged fundamental beliefs about evolutionary independence and raised questions about other possible ancient influences on Earth's development. Simultaneously, disturbing intelligence reports surfaced regarding covert operations by various factions seeking to exploit the situation. Shadowy organizations, some with ties to legitimate council members, had begun mobilizing resources to either promote or sabotage the union between Marcus and Lyria. Whispers of assassination plots targeting both individuals circulated through secure channels, while black market trading in genetic samples linked to the pair reached unprecedented levels. Security forces from multiple species reported increased activity among mercenary groups and rogue geneticists eager to capitalize on the unprecedented genetic compatibility. The economic ramifications continued to escalate as well. Major corporations involved in genetic research and biotechnology experienced wild fluctuations in their stock values, while insurance markets struggled to assess risks associated with potential offspring from the union. Theoretical models suggested that children of Marcus and Lyria could possess unprecedented capabilities, potentially revolutionizing everything from medical treatments to space travel technologies. This possibility triggered a speculative frenzy that threatened to destabilize entire sectors of the galactic economy. Political maneuvering reached fever pitch as species and factions positioned themselves for potential outcomes. Traditional powers like the Arcturon Collective pushed for strict regulations governing interspecies unions, while newer civilizations advocated for complete freedom in genetic relationships. The Democratic Systems Alliance proposed establishing a special council to oversee the development of human-xylary relations, a suggestion that sparked heated debates about sovereignty and autonomy. Behind closed doors, secret treaties and agreements were being drafted, dissolved, and renegotiated at an alarming rate. Scientific communities faced their own crises as researchers struggled with ethical dilemmas posed by the situation. Prominent geneticists resigned from prestigious positions rather than participate in studies they considered morally questionable, while others argued that refusing to investigate such a significant biological phenomenon would be equally unethical. Academic institutions found themselves torn between advancing knowledge and respecting cultural sensitivities, leading to faculty divisions and student protests across multiple worlds. Public reaction intensified as more details emerged about both the ancient genetic connection and the current security threats. Grassroots movements sprang up overnight, some advocating for complete transparency in all related research, others demanding immediate protection for Marcus and Lyria. Conspiracy theories multiplied exponentially, ranging from claims of deliberate genetic manipulation by shadow governments to allegations that the entire situation was an elaborate hoax designed to distract from other galactic issues. Within the Xylary Empire itself, internal divisions deepened. Conservative elements pushed for Princess Lyria's permanent seclusion, arguing that her condition represented a threat to national security. Progressive factions countered that rejecting her would amount to discarding potentially vital genetic heritage. Military leaders expressed concerns about how the situation might affect alliances and defense arrangements, while cultural authorities debated the implications for Xylary identity and tradition. The human delegation to the council found itself under unprecedented scrutiny. Earth's representatives received constant updates from their home planet, where government officials struggled to balance public opinion with strategic interests. Intelligence agencies worked overtime analyzing threats and opportunities, while diplomatic corps attempted to maintain normal relations with other species despite the extraordinary circumstances. The strain showed in their holographic projections, which occasionally flickered with stress-induced distortions. As the council session progressed, additional complications arose. Reports indicated that other human individuals might possess similar genetic compatibility with Xylary citizens, though at lower levels than Marcus Drake. This possibility opened new avenues for discussion about broader interspecies relationships while simultaneously raising concerns about potential exploitation. Medical facilities across human-inhabited space reported increased requests for genetic testing, overwhelming existing infrastructure and creating ethical dilemmas for healthcare providers. Religious implications continued to evolve as well. Faith leaders from multiple traditions convened emergency councils to discuss how to address the situation within their respective doctrines. Some saw confirmation of ancient prophecies about celestial unions, while others interpreted the events as trials of faith. Interfaith dialogues became increasingly tense as different belief systems struggled to reconcile their teachings with the unfolding reality. Security measures tightened across all involved territories. The Xylary research facility housing Marcus and Lyria implemented unprecedented protocols, including quantum encryption of all communications and continuous electromagnetic shielding. Special forces units from multiple species coordinated efforts to protect key personnel and installations, while intelligence agencies shared information through newly established secure channels. Despite these precautions, incidents of industrial espionage and attempted data breaches increased dramatically. Through this escalating chaos, Marcus and Lyria maintained their daily routines with remarkable composure, though those closest to them noticed subtle signs of strain. Their shared resolve strengthened as they faced each new challenge together, finding ways to support each other through the mounting pressure. The couple's ability to maintain their relationship amidst such turbulence inspired both admiration and concern among observers, who recognized that their decisions would shape not just their personal futures but potentially the course of galactic history itself. The chamber's quantum nexus pulsed with increasing intensity as new data streams poured in from across the affected regions, each revelation adding another layer of complexity to an already intricate situation. Representatives exchanged urgent communications through secure channels, their holographic forms occasionally flickering with the strain of processing so much information simultaneously. The council session had transformed from a formal deliberation into a dynamic crisis management operation, with subcommittees forming and dissolving rapidly to address emerging issues. As night fell across the Andromeda Quadrant, casting long shadows through the crystalline walls of Ecliptica Prime, the situation continued to evolve with breathtaking speed. New alliances formed and dissolved like quantum particles, while ancient enmities resurfaced with renewed intensity. The convergence of genetic revelation, political maneuvering, and cultural upheaval created a perfect storm of transformation that threatened to reshape the very fabric of galactic civilization. Every decision made in this critical moment carried implications that would echo through the stars for generations to come, yet the path forward remained obscured by conflicting interests and unprecedented variables. Amidst the chaos, Marcus and Lyria found themselves at a crossroads. The weight of galactic expectations pressed down on them, yet their bond had grown unshakable. In a quiet moment, standing before the observation window that overlooked the stars, Lyria turned to Marcus. "What if we choose neither perfection nor rejection?" she asked, her muted scales flickering faintly with hope. "What if we create something entirely new?" The council chamber erupted into debate as Emperor Zithron XIII made an unexpected proposal, a trial period during which Marcus and Lyria would co-govern a neutral territory, blending human and xylary principles. Traditionalists balked, while progressives saw it as a chance for unity. Lord Zarene's waveform shifted erratically, torn between preserving order and embracing change. As the decision hung in the balance, Marcus addressed the council, not as a diplomat or soldier, but as a man who had fallen in love with someone beyond worlds. "We fear what we don't understand," he said, his voice steady. "But isn't that why we explore? Isn't that why we reach for the stars?" Lyria joined him, her presence commanding despite her imperfections. "I was cast aside because I didn't fit your mold of perfection. But perhaps perfection is not uniformity, it's diversity. Together, we can show you what strength looks like when differences are celebrated, not feared." The chamber fell silent. For the first time, doubt crept into the rigid ideologies of even the staunchest traditionalists. Lady Sylvaris shimmered softly, her crystalline form reflecting the light of possibility. The Quorix hive pulsed with calculations too complex for any single being to comprehend. In the end, the council agreed to the trial, a fragile compromise born of necessity and curiosity. Marcus and Lyria stepped forward, hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Their union would be tested by enemies and allies alike, but they stood united, determined to forge a future where no one would be rejected for being different. As the stars burned brightly outside, the galaxy held its breath. A new chapter was beginning, one written not by kings or councils, but by two individuals who dared to believe that love could transcend species, tradition, and fear. And though uncertainty loomed large, so did the promise of something extraordinary.